Hello and welcome. This is show number 10. I'm your host, Andrew Jones, and this is the Ascension Symptoms Support Group, the Peacekeepers Show.
You're listening to The Inner Flame with my dad, Andrew Jones. Dad, feels weird calling you Andrew Jones. Dad, you know all this talk about your soul and the spirit? Well, do you know anything about boys? That's my dad.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day and taking a moment to sit down or as you work, if you're doing something that doesn't require many brain cells, so that you can partake and listen to my little show. So last month we had 550 viewers of the podcast, which, when you think about it, is mind-blowing. It means that seeds of hope, of love, of positivity are being planted in over 550 people's brains, which are affecting those many souls, which is, to me, just a beautiful thing. This month, I'm up over 600, so I'm beyond ecstatic and just overwhelmed by how well the show just seems to be growing. I would love for any one of you to be able to write in and ask me more questions, requests about what to talk about. I'm certainly getting more and more structure to the podcast. I have a small list, actually downstairs, of things that I would like to cover, things I would like to talk about, things that I've discovered, and things that are come up in the news, but haven't necessarily made much of an impact because they've either been quietened down, they've been brushed under the rug, so to speak, and what have you. So I want to bring that out from under the rug and into the limelight and talk about some of these things. Welcome to The Inner Flame, a podcast about what drives you, about the spiritual journey and the truth that rings true in your heart. Let's take a walk together and grow together. We will talk and kick about the ideas and concepts, allowing you to come to your own conclusions. No shouting, we are all equal here. Ultimately, and at the end of the day, what I would like for the Inner Flame podcast to contribute towards is helping people find that they're not alone, to maybe help people realize that those fleeting thoughts that they've had, thoughts of, well, maybe there's more to life than all of this that I see before me, all of the troubles and all the heartaches and woes, and to help them realign themselves with their own true inner power. We all have such varying views. If I want people to accept me and to at least pause and take a moment to think about possibly areas in their lives where they can make an improvement, where they can make an adjustment, just relook at the trajectory or the heading that they are on in their life. Is it something that will truly, at the end of the day, help you grow into a better person and maybe leave a bit of a mark on the world? And maybe that's not your purpose. Maybe your purpose is just to be that one little element for one person that fleetingly crosses your path, and you do or say just the right thing to help them on their trajectory. So I don't discount anything really in the role that we play in each other's lives. But I think when we take a moment and we just stop and we weigh up everything that we are, everything that we do, we say, and especially those oh so magical thoughts that we have. When we understand that every single thing we think repetitively over and over, when we realize that builds momentum, that builds a fire, it builds a thrust towards your self-built outcome. Maybe we should be choosing those words and those thoughts with a little bit more care than we do. And I talk about that with very much experience under my belt. There truly should not be any real envelope or any real ceiling in the ability to hit the stars in life or to aim for the moon, because every one of us are born with the same capabilities, the same magic within us, or the same ability to reach out to the universe, to make a mark, to set the wheels in motion. And I don't care whether you're born into a third world country. I don't care whether you are born to a Hollywood superstar. You have the ability. I've seen in the news where millionaire and superstar children have hit the lowest of lows. And I've also seen where people that have huddled in a hut holding their breath for the sake of losing their lives because there's people with machetes and what have you on the other side of that door, and all they have is a rag on their backs and bits of plastic on their feet. I've seen them rise to such greatness, inspiring millions of people. So I don't believe in limits are set with the station that you hold this very moment in life. I do not believe that you are held back by your past or the things you have done yesterday, today. I think it is very much capable of each and every one of us to stand up and to step in to the power that we have available to us. And it doesn't really matter whether you believe in God, whether you believe in a universal energy, whether you believe in whatever it might be, truly. If it's a good and just thought or cause or reason, then keep on keeping on. More power to you.
You're listening to The Inner Flame with host Andrew Jones.
Welcome to the show.
I was all by myself. I'd fallen out of a boat and I was drowning. Then out of nowhere, two strong hands picked me up and plopped me back in my boat. I was saved. I was saved by an angel.
Please throw away your extra baggage. It will not be required. Put your trays in the upright position and move your seat backs forward. Make yourself ready for Ascension and relax.
The light's amazing. It's the most beautiful light I have ever seen. It's so bright.
Well, I have been threatening to, and it's finally here. Last night, actually, on March the 4th, I was able to sit down with Larry Heisler, a grand master of massage, a man that has held over 3,500 meditation classes, never charging for a single one. He still has his meditation classes now every last Thursday, I believe, of the month. The details are later on in the podcast. It's a great show filled with some wonderful insights from one of my favorite people on this planet, Larry Heisler. So let's join the conversation as it took place last night at his place of business, New Jersey Massage, on Route 46 in Parsippany. Larry, I understand you're excited right now about this particular time on the planet, and there's certainly some things that you would like to express.
I want to talk about why right now is the most special time in American history.
Yeah.
And planetary. But, just for us, why there's never been a more exciting time for us. And I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about how do we access the spiritual dimension, right? And I want to talk about, because the hardest thing to do is the basics. There are so many people that can quote you chapter and verse of the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
There are so many people that are gifted intuitives, psychics, mediums, that can tell you what people are saying from the other side, that can talk to you about your history and even perhaps your future, and why you are going through the events of your life, perhaps the difficulties in your life, and the karma that you might be burning out. But in truth, the hardest thing is to eat well every day.
Yeah.
Because the most spiritual of people, all the great teachers, these people can't do the basics for the most part. To eat well every single day and chew your food 100 times, and to eat more of a plant-based diet that's lower on the food chain, so you don't get the illnesses, because all of the degenerative diseases of our time are all based from animal-based food and junk food, fast food, sugars, acid bloodstreams, things like that. But it's so hard to remember to take your vitamins every day, to stay optimistic all day long, to stay positive even when people are trying to take away your butterfly, to take away your rainbow. And so that you don't give away your power. Like
exactly
what Eleanor Roosevelt used to say, nobody can make you feel bad without your permission.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And to meditate on a daily basis, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, and perhaps even to exercise regularly, whether it's a Tai Chi class or yoga class or Pilates or Nia or, extend ballet bar or something like that. Those are the hard things. It's really easy to be talking about your psychic insights.
Yeah.
But if you're eating sugar out of control, yeah, you can be very gifted psychically, but you'll shorten your life dramatically. So I have people who can have their third eyes open and they can tell you everybody that's in the room, but they only live 50 years because they've speeded up their metabolism to a point where from eating, 2 chocolate cakes a day.
Yes, I have noticed myself that there are a lot of spiritual people, very spiritual people, and I'll include myself in the group, that don't necessarily watch dietary, what passes their lips, but also what passes the gateways of their mind, and they end up mulling over day in and day out, and they just create this huge air of negativity because you're not checking what you're letting into your stream, your thought process, the stream of thoughts that you have every day. So I think for a lot of people, they end up manifesting those repetitive notions that they allow in their minds in the first place.
It's a very difficult thing to walk the path. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to quote chapter and verse from the great books. It's easy to mention about other people. But to really be able to live a spiritual path is just down to earth, day to day basics. And that's the hardest thing. And I've seen so many hundreds of spiritual teachers that I've studied with over the years that can't live the basics.
Yeah.
They were amazing. Yeah. They're remarkable. They can tell you who you were in your past lives and what lineages that you have that's part of your life this time. But when it comes to just eating healthy,
right,
they have a difficulty. So the spiritual path is a lot different than people think.
Yeah.
It's doing day in and day out, living a clear, healthy path, which is very difficult. But on all the times in our planet right now, in America, we have an opportunity that we've never had before. And people don't realize it. And it's not because of politics, because people are fond of saying that this is a terrible time, that economically we're in a tragic situation, and that there's never been a worse time. But I don't agree. If this was the 1970s, and I said to you, there's going to come a day sometime in the future that you're going to be able to walk into any supermarket in America and buy organic fruits and vegetables, you'd say, no way.
Right.
Because back in the 1970s, to get a pound of organic cherries, it was $19 a pound. If you want, and you only had like a 1 week, maybe a 2 week opportunity to experience that from the 10 trees that were in Florida or something. And now you can go to a Trader Joe's all summer long, and for $4, $3.99 a pound, you can get not one type of organic cherry, 2 types of organic cherry, right? And if I told you that there was going to come a time, if this was again 1970s, that there was going to come a time where you can walk into any hospital, take a meditation class or a Tai Chi class, or get an acupuncture treatment, or take a natural foods cooking class, right? Or yoga. And if I told you that there will come a time where there will be 3 yoga facilities in every town in America, and all of America will be doing asanas and vinyasa, and they would be doing breathing exercise, you say, come on, that's impossible. How's that ever going to happen?
These are things we take for granted today.
Right now, most colleges in New Jersey are being powered by solar cells. all of the state colleges are putting up solar panels so that the entire complex on the university campus is solar powered.
Wow.
Right? And with the fact that people can now eat healthier, we can get vitamins, and they're not being poo-pooed as a waste of money, but that people are actually doing very fine research showing how efficacious these supplements are for everything from arthritis to, stabilizing your blood sugar.
Yeah.
Right? So as people eat better in America, we're going to think clearer, and we're going to be less superstitious and less dumb about things. We're going to start thinking more clearly. And as people think more clearly, things are going to start getting healthier. We're just at the very beginning.
Right.
I mean, it's just happening right now that people are starting to pay attention to the fact that whenever a person takes a vitamin, they live 3 to 5 years longer. According to the Harvard Nurses Study, which is one of the finest studies that's ever been produced in America, people live longer if they take a vitamin. And that's just the beginning of the whole thing. Now, we're running the risk with global, climate change and all of the different terrible things that are still taking place throughout the world, that we have to speed up our process as fast as we can. But there's an opportunity now with new industries forming because of all the alternative energy. If you remember, when Obama did his speech, what did he say? He said, we want to take all of our federal and state-run vehicles and run them under alcohol, just like they do in Brazil, which will eliminate some of our oil and gasoline dependencies on foreign countries.
There's a lot of stations now in and around New Jersey, New York, that will provide at the pump alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling a great deal of hope for our future as a country and as a people. And I'm seeing a lot of optimistic movement because now major corporations throughout America, and I'm talking about big corporations, are teaching meditation to everybody because they find that it's good for productivity. It cuts down on sickness. And in Belgium, people who take a 2-week certification program in meditation get their health insurance cut by 1/3.
Wow.
They don't now. They have Silver Cross instead of Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have Silver Cross Silver Shield, I guess.
Okay.
1/3 less premium if you meditate, because meditators don't get as ill as people would like to, talk about.
Yeah.
So I think that we're at a very exciting time. That just look in any Sunday Times book review section, and you'll see it's not just self-help books anymore. Now people are having visions. They're having experiences. They're channeling through great words of wisdom. And these are average folks.
Absolutely.
That it's happening to.
Yeah.
So there is a new time that's dawning, and this is a new age that's coming. And the old age, the Kali Yuga, the dark times, the Iron Age, is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And the age of Aquarius is beginning to show itself on the horizon. And for people who have a visionary way of looking at the future, it looks good. You know, what it says in the Bible is those that have a vision for the future have a future filled with vision.
Beautiful.
Or maybe it's the other way around.
No, that's still, I'll take that.
It's still good. So I like those. I like those thoughts.
Now, I've noticed for the last 6 months to the last year, people are focusing more now on literature based towards take control of your thoughts and you'll be able to take control of your life. But what I've noticed is that's always been a bit of a focus of mine. I've always been an advocate of, for example, hypnotism, because it's a very root-based way to take control of some reactionary methods to control your thinking and your reaction to something. I remember in one of your classes years ago that I used to take, and you would say, it's gone from about 3 months to manifest to about a month. I'm down to about a month now. And I used to love, that talk, but I also, back then, I couldn't connect with it. But today, things manifest so quickly, and I don't think I don't think that many people truly are realizing what they're kind of manifesting. They don't realize actually that they are manifesting.
Right.
There's a big disconnect.
Hilda, the famous meditation master in New York that I used to study with, used to say, get a notebook and write down how you want to see it go down. Write down your vision, right? Because you have to program it. Program your intention. But when I saw Tony Robbins, I did one of those weekends years ago where you'd walk on the coals, the hot coals, and Tony would say that it's not enough just to visualize what you want. To make it come manifest, you have to emotionalize it. You have to make it come alive with that urgency, that real excitement. Put emotion, put fire behind your intentions. And people are doing that more and more. And we see our athletes producing at a much higher level. We see everything in our society coming to a much greater level. And, notice one thing. We know that there's hope for the future. White kids can dance now. I mean, when we were growing up, there were very few people that had any sense of rhythm. And now kids are not only rhythmic, they can do amazing things. Maybe it's because we've digitalized a lot of our actions. When a football player is leaping high up in the air, as they're running full tilt, and they run up high up in the air and catch the ball on one finger and bring it down and step within a half an inch of going out of bounds. And they practice that over and over again until when you see it, you say, that's impossible. How can anybody do that? And yet we're all capable of doing these amazing things because we're practicing. And how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, practice,
Yeah,
practice.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it truly is just something very magical is going on. It's all over Facebook, no matter where and some of it for me, I look at some of the posts on Facebook and I see people that live one way and then they'll post something that is almost like a wish, like they wish they could be this way.
Yeah.
Whereas, not blowing any horns, and my life has been far from perfect, but I try to post posts that are
Present.
to try and be for other people, to give someone else a nudge or a push, or to lift them up, or what have you. So, and I think sometimes it's taken as weakness, or you're kind of crying out when you post something like this on Facebook.
I've been reading your posts, and the impression that I get is that you're living what you're talking about, and that's why it has power to touch people's hearts, and that's why you've become so popular, because you're feeding people's hearts and souls something that's very important, and it's coming from a genuine place. It's coming from a committed place, and it's the real McCoy, and that's what we all crave. We want something genuine, article.
Yes, thank you.
At this point,
what do you think it is about people that makes them react almost venomously when they see a change in you, and it's people just really stepping into their true being, into their true nature, and then either friends or family might react in such a way that it is
they're frightened.
Yeah, like either frightened or
so it's immaturity.
Yeah,
but it's just basic insecurity, and what you have to. When you see that, I would just say, reassure them that you're the same good old bloke that you've been all these years, that you're just growing up a little bit and getting healthier, and that you are shunning some of the less healthy aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And, everybody wants to hold on to some sort of a semblance of status quo. We're always holding on. Maybe it's a security thing that we want everybody to be the same way their whole life. We want everything to be solid and seemingly lacking, without change. But unfortunately, change is the one thing that's guaranteed on this planet. That everything is changing and growing, and as long as you can adapt to change, you can stay healthy. But it presses people's buttons and it frightens them, and they just need reassurance, that you're just as much in love with them and so forth. But maybe you don't want to go out and drink until you're drunk silly anymore. I mean, that's just not everybody has to grow up eventually.
Exactly.
From that perspective.
So, with everything that's meant to be taking place these days in this time in history and what have you, there's a lot of talk about DNA change. There's a talk about December 21st that there was two Earths, that a lower vibrational and a higher vibrational planet. Just a lot of growth and change have taken place. Do you think anything in particular has happened to the Earth or to people or to consciousness or to the spiritual well-being of the planet in general? What's your thoughts on everything that's taking place?
I know that we're changing.
Yeah.
And as a planet, we're changing dramatically because we're all hot wired to each other now because of technology. Mm-hmm. So we can feel other people's pain more readily. But as far as Earth changes are going on, they are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember they were talking about Iceland, not Iceland, Greenland melting, right? And of course the polar ice caps melting. And then when Fukushima came, we all know that a meltdown of a nuclear power plant meant a disaster beyond anything we can imagine.
Yeah.
And there were 4 or 5 of them happening simultaneously and are still happening. And you notice that they've been covered up. They haven't been talked about.
Yeah.
And I suspect that the people of Japan are going to suffer such great problems from this, and the rest of the world, that we have not been informed about it. And it's almost like a massive cover-up. Because we all knew in the scientific community that that was the worst case scenario and it was unthinkable to happen to anybody, and it happened at such a profound amount. I always felt that we were about to go nuclear as a country when Obama came in, because it seemed like he signed on to the whole nuclear idea, whereas I always felt that it was the most toxic of all technologies known to mankind, just from the waste products alone. And I always felt that the Japanese took a bullet for us by sacrificing themselves, or maybe karmically speaking, but it stopped our nuclear programs to a dead halt, and with good reason. All over the world, it stopped the nuclear programs. So I think that we have some very, very serious things happening environmentally all over the world. Just the tsunamis and the weather changes and such. And if anybody thinks that Armageddon didn't happen,
I've already said this. Yeah,
it's happened.
Yeah.
If you were in that tsunami that killed 500,000 people,
it was the end of the world.
It was the end of the world in those places. And frankly, if you, even in the 1960s and 70s, when Bangladesh was having all those amazing floods and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people were being affected by that, if you were there, you would think that the end of the world was happening as well.
Yeah.
We're thinking too small.
Exactly.
And as we think larger and as we think outward as a people, us Americans, we're going to start realizing that the level of suffering on this planet is at a very, very high level, and that we need to pay more attention, and we need to start remedying their suffering as well as our own. Just by changing our growing techniques, and people eating more plant-based foods and making good environmental changes, and perhaps inviting everybody to come together with the technology sharing that we need to do. But it's happening, but it's not happening fast enough.
No.
But yet it's happening fast. It depends on which organizations you're listening to and which inspiring people, like those TED lectures that they give, where
some of those are fantastic.
Extraordinary people doing extraordinary things and inspiring people all over the world to make massive group changes of such a high positive level. So the fact that you have a show that's constantly talking about this, and there's hundreds and hundreds of shows all over the Eastern Seaboard that are talking about the same things, there's hope. There's real hope at this point that we might get ourselves out of this situation that we've found ourselves in. But there's a lot of people who have taken a lot of bullets to get here.
I'll say. the eastern border of the US just smothered with exactly the same type of Fukushima nuclear plant, you know, and they're all over the eastern board is just is peppered with them, and I don't think many of the U.S. citizens know just how many nuclear plants there are. Now, I was blown away when I saw the map. I thought, well, maybe it'd be 5 or 10, you know, but there's, I don't know, 50, 60 or more.
There are a lot.
Oh, see, that's usually a sign from the angels. But
I think as a culture, we're moving in the right direction.
yeah,
Not fast enough for my liking. People always ask me, trying to get my political take on things, you know, and they would say, "What do you think of Obama?" And I said, "Well, I'm not that, you know, crazy about Obama. He's too conservative for my liking." Mm-hmm. And then they look at me like with a jaundiced eye and say, "He's too conservative," right? And I say, "Yeah, I'm ready for, you know, Nirvana breaking out all over right now."
yeah,
I want people to step up their game and get much healthier and much clearer. I think we're moving in the right direction. I just would like to see it go more mainstream.
yeah,
I want people to be healthy. I'm tired of seeing the level of sickness that we have, and people are so complacent about it. You know, the other day I was driving on the highway, and there was a hospital advertising that children are so important to us that we've devoted an entire hospital to them.
yeah,
And that is the greatest abomination I've ever heard, because in the 1950s, in our local hospitals here, if there was one cancer patient, all the doctors would go down to read the chart because they had never seen it.
wow,
And if there was a child with a serious degenerative disease, it was unheard of.
yeah,
Nobody ever heard of children having cancer.
right,
The fact that we have whole hospitals dedicated to children just with cancer just shows that we have really taken some very wicked turns. Mm-hmm. And if you call the American Cancer Society and you say, "What's the cause of cancer?" they'll say, "Well, 80% of all cancers are environmental." I say, well, wouldn't it make sense of all the trillions and trillions of dollars that we spent towards cancer research, which seemingly hasn't done much because cancer is at its highest levels ever,
right,
wouldn't it be great if we, knowing that it's environmental, maybe we need to teach people how to eat, mm-hmm. and maybe clean up the water, clean up the air, clean up the land. Maybe that would solve some of our difficulties. But it's a business.
yeah. Was it you years ago told me about if your body was alkaline that it would? I think it was, because we had some great lessons and stories and what have in your class.
In the 1930s, there was a medical doctor who was an MD, PhD, who won the Nobel Prize for showing that oxygen deprivation in the body, or an acidic condition of the bloodstream, grows cancer.
That wasn't Gerson, was it? That
wasn't
before
Gerson.
then, right?
Yeah, that wasn't Gerson. And what essentially he said was that if you can increase the oxygen levels or alkalize people's bloodstream, you would do some great good. Mm. But an acidic bloodstream or an oxygen-deprived bloodstream seems to grow cancer. And so that concept went along for many, many years, but people didn't know what to do with it because we didn't really know that many ways of increasing the oxygen levels in your body. Yeah. But now we do. Yeah. We do know. I mean, when Pritikin was at the Mayo Clinic curing people of cardiovascular diseases and rheumatoid arthritis and insulin-dependent diabetics, within 6 months, he'd have people off of insulin, and people who were in wheelchairs that could only walk maybe 200 feet were walking 6 to 10 miles a day. Yeah. And they asked him, how is it that people have such dramatic healing on this particular Pritikin program, which was kind of like a Mediterranean diet? And he said, when you eat this way, it dramatically increases your oxygen stores in your body, and that speeds up the healing process. And so people nowadays are realizing that the foods that create an acidic bloodstream are all animal protein, coffee, soda, sugar, and simple carbohydrates, and also a negative state of mind also can create a lot of acidic condition in your bloodstream. And when you're acidic, it draws out all the minerals out of your bones and out of your teeth and out of your hair to create homeostasis, to alkalize you. And so every day we eat foods that acidify us, And every day we're trying to create homeostasis, which is the natural biological process of our body to get back to being an oxygen-rich, alkaline environment, because our bloodstream is supposed to be 7.35. And after a certain period of time, it just doesn't work like that. So we're always in an acid state. And it's when you're in the acid state that the parasites grow, that the bacteria grows, that the viruses grow, that the candida yeasts grow, that the funguses grow, that the cancer grows. And there's this whole movement now towards alkalizing the body, drinking alkaline water like Fiji or Volvic or Mineral Valley, lemon water for breakfast, Epsom salts baths that people take, and all different sorts of alkalizing of food, like the Himalayan crystal salt is alkaline, and miso. People that consume miso soup on a daily basis have half the cancer rate of the rest of the world's population, and that's from a longitudinal study from Johns Hopkins University. So we are learning things. We are learning how to do a lot of things, but I always say that as long as healthcare is a for-profit industry, you're not going to get it as clean as you can, because it's a business. And any way that you look at it, if they do all of a sudden come up with natural ways of healing, like people all of a sudden overnight start eating healthy, they start eating more plant-based foods, they start alkalizing their bloodstream, they start meditating and taking exercise and doing all these different techniques that this whole show that you do is about transformation, about growth. Once we start becoming more enlightened in this way, I think we're going to see a lot of things change for the better. And that's what we're all so desperately waiting for, things to improve. And it's starting to improve. And we're going to see it continually improve. And I think that's the good news. The good news is that there is a new day dawning, and it's happening in front of our eyes. But I think the problem is that most people are still looking at the negatives, as opposed to looking at all the amazing positives that are happening all around us, all the acts of goodwill, the great deeds that people are doing, the acts of kindness and charity and generosity, which this country is known for. I think that as that grows more and more, we will see salvation as a society. And personally, I can't wait, because the clock is ticking. And so it's always that good versus evil. The famous futurist Barbara Marx Hubbard once said that we are at this turning point. We can go in either direction. We can end ourselves as a society, as a human race, or we can take that next leap of consciousness. And I think that's what makes this such a profound time, that it can go either way still yet. And we need every single person that's listening to this podcast today, step up. Take that step up, because it's not doing just for you. If you give up sugar, if you lose weight, if you start exercising, if you start meditating, if the words that come out of your mouth model behavior that you want your children to emulate, it's time to step up. It's time to walk that walk for each one of us, to take the responsibility. Because as we do this, we're not just doing it for us, we're saving us as a whole.
Exactly.
And this is the stand that we make for children on this planet. This is the stand that we make for the future generations, for all that is good and righteous, like that lady in the harbor wielding that light of liberty, that goddess of light, like the French say, la déesse de la lumière, the goddess of light. It's in each one of us. And that's how we have to embrace it. We have to step up our game. You can do this. And that's why we're talking like this. That's why we get together, to support each other and to give each other encouragement that it's possible, that it no longer has to be such a negative downer. That's why I'm taking this interview.
And I appreciate it. It's, years ago, again, I'll introduce more at the beginning of this podcast of how I came to meet you. But in short, I went to the Only Hearts in a newspaper, and I met a girl, and we just went out for a drink. She introduced me to Anne, and she brought me to your class. And next thing you know, all these years later, you're saying now much more powerfully what you did subtly back then. And one of my favorite sayings from you was, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it exactly or paraphrasing it, but it was to stand up and be a local representative of the Spirit. And you challenged us all to, and that was so powerful to me.
District representative of the Spirit in your neighborhood.
That was it.
Right? One person has to stand up and do good everywhere that they go, that you serve others. You know, I heard Martin Luther King say on a Sunday sermon, he was talking about the biblical quote, "He that will be first amongst you shall be your servant." Mm-hmm. And he said, and the thing I like about that today is that everybody can be first because everybody can serve.
Yeah.
Right? And if there was a prime directive on this planet, and I believe there is, the prime directive, as I've taught now in all 3,500 meditation classes that I've ever taught, I say the same things over and over again. Yeah. And the prime directive is to grow in every way that you can, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And then to take that growth and uplift and inspire and serve wherever you're sent, wherever you go. Find a way to improve the quality of people's lives every single day.
Yeah.
Make a difference on this planet. Something that you can feel good about, so that when we talk about you at your eulogy, when you die, we can say, he did try to feed the hungry. He did try to clothe the naked. He did try to serve others. So we don't have to fib, because, you know, it seems like every person that ever died was the greatest person that ever lived, you know, and how can we ever have gotten along without them? Except, you know, you usually know, ministers say that to give solace to the grieving family. But every once in a while you find somebody that really lived up to those accolades. And when you get that, then you know there's a person that lived a life that was meaningful. And I just would like people to say that they can walk that walk, so that when we do have to eulogize them, we don't have to fib like crazy. We can really say they really made a difference on this planet, that they improved the quality of our lives. And they inspired us to be greater and to do better. And that's a good reason for living.
Yeah, it's almost a mantra of mine. It's to be the greatest vessel that I could be for good and for light. I don't like saying the word God necessarily, because I think by human standards it's too limiting. You know, I think it's far greater than I think. You know, it's
you
like
can call it
Catholic, Methodist religions.
You can
and stuff.
call it great spirit or the great physics of life. There is that great science in this universe, whether you're looking at it from quantum physics or from spiritual perspective, or Native Americans or Taoists. They're all touching on similar concepts.
It really is.
I don't really think it's all that important.
No.
You know, to have labels for it. I know that what's important is, as long as there's children going hungry on this planet, our work is pretty clear. I mean, you know, if Jesus was the master that people believed that he was, his words were very clear. What you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. And I believe that, you know, and I think you don't have to have religious beliefs to be held accountable for a life well lived. And that's what I think we have to move. You know, some of the atheists that I have as friends are some of the most spiritual people I've ever met. And whenever I say that, they want to shoot me, you know, because I said, oh my God, you're such a spiritual person. They say, I hate that. Don't say that. Don't say that. I said, but your whole life is about stepping up and making a difference on this planet. You're living Jesus' teaching more than the people that are going to his church half the time. You know, so I don't think the labels are important. What I think is the actions are important. I think we have a lot of work to do. And I think that shows like this give us a forum to encourage each other, to walk the good walk, to fight the good fight.
And it really is.
And it really is. And it's for our children. It's for our future. It's for history. It's for art. It's for music. If all this was to end right now, it would be on our watch. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, when a bank crashes and the feds come over to take over the bank, they treat everybody as if they're convicts. Every single person, right down to the teller, they're all responsible. You all failed. Every last one of you failed,
Yeah.
right? That we have to come in and bail you out. And I want to say that every time we see these terrible things happening on the planet, it's all of our failure, right? That we have to step up our acts of generosity,
Yeah.
our acts of consciousness, and make a difference on this planet. And I know we have a long way to go, but I just think that if we get to those pearly gates, and St. Peter says, so what did you do when 60,000 children were dying every single day of malnutrition on planet Earth? And you look rather portly.
Yeah.
You know, what did you do to
He
make a
says,
difference?
looking at me.
Yeah, and I want to, me too. And I want to say I did everything every single day in my power to make a difference, to improve the quality of life wherever I found it. What else can I say?
Yeah.
You know, that's who we are. Who we are. That's what we're about.
Absolutely. You're a grandmaster?
Well, in massage therapy, as in many different professions, they say that to become a professional, you need to put in 10,000 hours of whatever it is, whether it's playing piano or being a plumber.
Yeah.
When you get to 10,000 hours, you're considered a professional. And maybe a master would be 25,000 hours. You would be a master teacher.
Some sore fingertips.
Well, and in my profession, since I've been doing massage since 1975, we've estimated, and it's a pretty good estimate, but we've estimated that I've done around 50,000.
Wow.
So people have been calling me a grandmaster. and I'm just learning. Every day I'm just learning on the job. But, you know, you do get a lot of insight from working on 50,000 people.
And that was question number 8 that I started to write, but I didn't. When you're working on people, do you get much spiritual, what sort of connection do you get, or what sort of insight do you get when you're working with people?
When I'm working with people, I'm trying to break up their hardness. After working on thousands of world-class athletes, there's some basic understandings that I've developed about the human body and the rigidity and the hardness and the stagnation, the cold, stagnant, hard areas in our bodies. People who are really at the top of their game, all the muscles are soft like butter. And hardness is an indicator of blockage, stagnation. And so if that hardness is over your kidneys, maybe you're eating too much protein. Or if that hardness is over your liver and gallbladder, maybe you're consuming too many fats or alcohol. Or depending on where you're manifesting these different things, cold areas indicate stagnation, hot areas indicate inflammation, hard areas indicate aging. Because people's muscles, as we get older, get hard and tight and cold and stagnant. Our muscles, we actually get short. So what I try to do is I try to open this up, break this up. In fact, I tell people, you can call me Ponce de Leon because I'm the fountain of youth. Because what do? I break up the hardness that's setting in. If I can keep it from setting into your body, I can prevent your gait from being twisted in all different sorts of weird anomalies as you get older. You know, if you ever notice when you look at people doing the news on television, they might have their head slanted over to one side, and you want to say, why is that head slanted over all the time to one side? Is the camera on an angle or something? And they don't even know that they're doing it. And if you straighten out their neck, they say, no, that's not straight. And they bring it back over to the slant. And all of these things are caused from our body aging and hardening, right? So by the time we're in our 70s, we're shorter. We have one shoulder that's high. The hips are on a slant, on an angle. We have a knee that's giving us all different sorts of problems. And all of this lifestyle stuff that's happening to us, I try to break up, right? And I try to turn around. And you know what they said was when Bob Hope and Rose Kennedy were asked on their 100th birthday, what's the secret to your longevity? They said, deep tissue massage. Without hesitation, they said that. They said, and Bob Hope got 2 hours of massage every day. Now, he can afford it, but he said that it broke up the hardness that was freezing up his body so that he can stay oxygenated, alkaline, and loose. So even though this guy smoked and drank and ate, an old-time diet of lots of meat and sugar and cheese and simple carbs, you have to have some great genes for that.
Yeah.
But he also had a formula for breaking up the aging process, which was through the very talented hands of the gentleman that was working on him 2 hours every single day, 6-7 days a week.
That's superb.
And so I tell people, and all of our massage therapists that I train, I say that from here on in, you are Ponce de Leon. You are a little piece of the fountain of youth. You break up hardness. You break up aging. You alkalize a person's bloodstream. You kick up their immune system to run hotter and cleaner. Mm-hmm. You create serotonin coming up into the brain. You're a feel-good type of session. So that's how I look at it.
I went to a psychic a while ago, and she said, you're going to create this product. Then she reached out to me because she wanted to do some work with me. But the course I've come up with, I'm still working on what to call it and what have you, but essentially it's 12 elements. The very first element is health, nutrition, mindset. I can't remember if that's 2. I think the health and the body are 1. The mindset and the feeding of the mind is 2. Because feeding the mind and feeding the body more so is so important as to help create healthy thoughts, healthy outlooks, healthy, relationships and everything. So what you do with the massage helps, for my outlook, the meditation, and if you want to cheat, then maybe hypnosis, just to help you kick your way into a lifestyle would be wonderful for the mind, but massage would be a fantastic way to really help boost the physical side of things.
It's a feel-good thing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It releases endorphins and enkephalins. One of my teachers, who was a great inspiration to me, was the great macrobiotic master, Michio Kushi. And Michio created his macrobiotic diet, which more people are on today for AIDS, heart disease, or cancer than any other alternative approach worldwide. It's the number 1 alternative approach worldwide. And I remember him saying that what you eat turns into your blood, and your blood makes up every cell of your body. And the cells of your body make up every single organ, including your brain. So if your food is clean, then your cells are healthy, and then your organs are optimal, and your brain is clear. But if your diet is sludgy, is of a poor quality, then those cells, that blood is of a poor quality, and then those cells are of a poor quality, and then the organs are, not at their optimum, and of course your brain can't be as clear. And so if we are what we eat, then if you're eating a lot of junk, you put junk in, you get junk out.
Yeah.
Right? And the better the stuff you put in, the better the stuff you get out. It's like high-test fuel. If you put in the cleanest, most wonderful fuel into something, just get a pet mouse and feed that pet mouse just the healthiest diet that mouse has ever had. And you'll see that mouse becomes colorful, and that mouse becomes smart and playful. And we saw this because we had parrots, and we would feed the parrots all these terrific nuts, seeds, and berries and fruits. And one day we found a mouse in the cage with the bird, and it was a house mouse, a field mouse. One of those little brown scrubby things.
Well, you in a very rural area.
Exactly. I was living in a big log cabin on top of a mountain overlooking a lake, and that mouse was the most beautiful mouse that I had ever seen. And we would always hear mice in the house, but we never would catch them. And then when I saw that mouse, and he had big, beautiful eyes, and the coloring on this mouse, it didn't look like one of those gray, ratty things. This mouse was eating organically top-of-the-line food. And I said, oh, my God, if it does that for a mouse, can you imagine what it does for our children when they eat that healthy, as opposed to eating, stuff that might be junk food? So I do believe that we can make a difference just down at the basics, eating better, taking supplements, meditating regularly. And here's the secret. The secret of child rearing is model the behavior that you want your children to emulate. If you want them to eat well, you eat well. If you want them to take vitamins, you take vitamins. If you want them to meditate, you meditate. If you want them to exercise, they need to see you exercising. If you have a meltdown every time something bad happens, they're going to have a meltdown every time something bad happens. But if you're optimistic, if you're positive, and if you turn the challenges into a great game that let's figure this out. How are we going to work this out? And you have everybody put on their thinking caps to come up with a good way of looking at things, then your kids will have a positive outlook forever, right? And so when people say to me, how did you get kids that are so amazing? And I always scratch my head and say, luck, I don't know. I mean, but it's not. It's really living a life that you want to share with them. Step your game up, and everybody around you will step their game up. And that's how I look at it.
Do your kids recognize how different their dad is compared to everyone else?
My kids to this day are always working out. They take vitamins. They're vegetarians. They've always eaten more of a plant-based diet. They're martial artists. They're meditators.
Fantastic.
They're working in planetary positions that they do really good work. They're excited about sharing and living and uplifting and inspiring and doing good work on the planet. They have a wonderful base, and it takes a fair share of luck too to make that happen. But
you have to tell me that.
Yeah, I know. And I always tell people, save enough money for therapy, because that's good too. But I think there's a lot that we can share by example. And that's how it has to go.
How long have you had New Jersey Massage?
We've been here for since 1979.
Wow. And what other types of services do you have here?
Well, we teach. We do continuing ed for massage therapists and nurses so that they can maintain their license. We teach undergraduate courses in massage therapy and specifically in medical massage. So that we work to help people get pain-free. And that's a big focus that we have. We do a lot of nutrition work and natural foods cooking classes, but we have personal trainers. We have meditation classes. We have, in our facilities, we have NIA, Extend Ballet Bar. We have yoga. We have a lot of different services that are a lot of fun, a lot of growth.
One of my all-time favorite classes. Well, every time we would come to see you, what was it? Every fourth Thursday here, the meditation class.
Well, it depends on what years, because I used to do it twice a week, then I did it once a week, and now I still teach meditation, but it's once a month. It's down at our Terra Sky Center for Wellness in Summit. It's the last Thursday of the month, 8 o'clock. I have never charged for a meditation class in my life.
I mean, personally speaking, that was probably one of the biggest catalysts in my life into me turning into who I see myself turning into now. Those classes for me were just magical, and it was the repetition. It was the stories and the things that were said, and all of the wisdom that would come out of them. And it did. You've created. I can only imagine the number of special people that you've created, and just you've planted out there into the world, and off they go and do their own,
That's our work, to inspire and uplift wherever we go. But I will say that this is your time now coming. Because you're coming into your power fully at this point, and you are going to continue doing. You've always done wonderful things, but now you're going to really touch people's lives, because it's each and every one of us needs to have that fulfillment that, and anybody can do wonderful things. I mean, to uplift and inspire and support people is easy, to give kind words and a hand. And you've always done that. But now you're going to reach a larger and larger audience of people because of your integrity and your genuine nature. You are the soul stalker. What is it? The soul? What is it?
Soul stoker.
Soul stoker.
Actually, right after our conversation the other night, thank you, by the way. Right after the conversation the other night, I went online, and to my amazement, soulstoker.com was available. So I bought that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, what are we doing? We're inspired. I mean, a stoker is when you stoke the fire, you inspire it to grow greater.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to light a fire under people who perhaps these are people that I might not reach because, there's just so many people that you can reach, but now there's another person out there that's doing the stoking. And more, there's hope. There's hope for this world because every time somebody steps up and walks into their power, there's another person making a difference on this planet.
Yeah, I certainly see it as people standing up and stepping into their power and becoming all that they can be. And I don't think many people realize what they can be, and I don't think many people realize the power that they have within them, and to motivate, to nudge, to help, to boost, to uplift, to love, and it's just a beautiful thing.
We should end right here.
Yeah.
We should go out with a song, something about love. I think that would be most perfect. I don't know what song it's going to be.
You know what I always loved, and with your permission, I'll put it on the end of the show. It's the Lazuma.
Oh yeah, and you know that we just put a video.
I've seen it multiple times now.
Oh, grab that song.
I keep watching it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Grab that song, put it up there, and maybe we can give if anybody would like to get my newsletter, which is for free, just go to www.newjerseymassage.com. Spell New Jersey out, NEWJERSEY, NewJerseymassage.com, and press the button to get our newsletter. And it's words of inspiration just like this. And then I usually put some health things in, and you can grab the archive. And in that archive is all these great inspirational lessons and nutrition stuff, which is good.
What I'm blown up, I get your newsletter, and what I'm blown away with, I get many newsletters from different people. You put so much thought and effort into your newsletters, and it's not just a copy and paste plagiarism from somewhere else. It's what's going on in the world. It's asking people to step up. It's asking people to take note of what's going on in their lives and their diet and everything. It's really
step up. Yeah. Step up. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew, for making me feel so good. Because whenever somebody comes back and shows me that all those seeds that were thrown out there have come to bear fruit, and now there's that one more person that's in the fray, doing the good fight to make a difference on this planet.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. Thank
Fantastic. Awesome.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Perched on high above, hands outstretched with love, breathing forth the sacred holy breath. The Zuma, the Zuma, the Zuma.
life starts today.
Hi, I'm Johnny Angel, and I just wanted to let you know a little bit about myself. I am a psychic medium, paranormal investigator, writer, teacher, and Reiki master, healer. It's my pleasure to be a part of this podcast and to be able to have a forum to talk with all of you.
Hi everyone, I'm Psychic Lisa Ann, and I am the owner of Spirit Quest Healing Center. I am happily celebrating my 14th year this year. I am also a psychic medium, healer, and author.
Thank you, Lisa Ann. And my name is Andrew Jones. I'm a stoker of souls, and this simply means I help to put a fire within you to increase the inner passion to help you find the drive and purpose that you were brought here to accomplish this lifetime. I have studied Reiki, quantum touch, and have created my own successful, powerful healing technique. I am climbing the ranks of psychic ability, especially since hanging with these two amazing individuals. I am author and creator of my new book, Soul Purpose, and the 12 Levels of Manifesting, meditation cards being released soon.
Come listen to Your Life Starts Today podcast. We talk about everything and anything pertaining to you getting a happy and fulfilled life of your dreams. Visit our site and subscribe today at www.yourlifestartstoday.com. Click on the podcast link, then simply subscribe. Tune in each week to hear the latest show. Plus, do not miss the Your Life Starts Today seminar, March 16th, with psychic Lisa Ann, Johnny Angel, and Andrew Jones at the Courtyard Marriott in Middletown, New York, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.